All right, guys. So my recording on TikTok was corrupted because TikTok was frozen, and so my recording was no longer working. So what I'm going to do here, and it's not going to take very long because I'm not reading chats or having any distractions. So we're just going to quickly go through our ETFs, and then I'm going to go through the stocks that were requested, and just briefly give you a rundown on what I see, or what I said and see. All right, so we're gonna do this really quickly now. With all three ETFs, tomorrow morning is a priority. That's when we're gonna know what we need to do, if we need to do anything at all. So first off, right, we already have SPY here. It closed up against that 539.28. We open up ES, and that one is red up against that 50% mark on the 4 hour. So it's pretty simple for me. That needs to break, and we need to go get above 64.35. You can go to the 1 hour and kind of see why I'm saying that. There is empty space, right? And right above this candle close to your left. So that could be where you get a little fake out. But watch 64.30. Here's what I'm highlighting. So that pocket, while it has already been retested, it very quickly could be retested if we break over those highs. Now, it is very clear to me that the floor is 6,400, and if that's lost, we would see 63.88. So as you can tell, there's probably a lot more upside potential right now, unless this is going to be 1, 2, and then we pull back and curl back up later on. So that being said, read and react. If you don't see a setup and it's just not clear, then you don't. That's just how it works with me. So that being said, let's take a look at NQ. And this one did open up, and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do and said it was going to do. So on the 24-hour, right, it was really simple. We are at the 50% mark in the wick. We just retested, and I said this on live, at 23,700, and that was the top of the red candle to our left. Now, I really can't pull any more information from this other than what's here on the 4 hour. Now the 4 hour is showing that floor right there pretty well. If that is lost, it's very simple. We would go to 23,650. There's actually 3 steps here, right? Because if you lose that, then you have empty space down to basically 23.5. Now, again, we're going to look at the market on open and try to make a good decision based on that, right? I could also, yeah, I'm not going to draw a box on that. Now, to the upside, there is very little. In fact, it is only a hourly range that is keeping us held down right here. And then cost basis, or the 50% mark, a part of it would be 27,780. So again, there is definitely room for a little bit of a pullback. There's definitely room to continue to the upside, but I think tomorrow's market open will give us greater insight on what we need to be looking at. Now, RTY has spent a great deal of time inside of consolidation, might continue to do so just for a short period of time, but on the weekly, and we've talked about this as well, there is empty space up in here. And then focusing more on the 24-hour time frame, and this is the reason why I'm kind of not moving too much on it, but we would have to get all the way up past this 2280 to actually get a catalyst. And then there's boxes stacked directly on top of one another. So it's no wonder that we're seeing so much overhead resistance. So buyers need to put on a show here. They are holding the 20, and that's definitely something to set an alert on. But they're holding this floor right here of 2200. If that's lost, obviously we can look for a potential leg down. But breaking down, reclaiming, and building, and I think what might help here is just to focus on what's in the most recent price action, but building a box under there, building a box right here, right, and then having the floor there. It does simplify this play, where if you are watching RTY, that is what we're looking for. All right, so that is our 3 ETFs. Tomorrow morning, we're going to look for better insight. Now, here's the first request, if I'm not mistaken. I trying to scroll through my old lives so that way I can make sure that I got the right ones. But the first one that we had was Tesla. And here's what I'm going to say about this one. It is absolutely itching to move. It has the consolidation similar to here that it had previously. We've also tracked a channel that it could be traveling in as well. It also has a very strong downtrend that it has been traveling in as well. So there's a lot of different resistances and channels at play right here, but let's simplify this. If Tesla is above what was the floor, what was the ceiling, what was the ceiling, and now our ceiling now, we can go ahead and expect for price to move to 344. If 344 is broken, we can expect price very easily to move to 355. If this thing moves very quickly, then we could expect for buyers to jump on this bandwagon, and you could be looking for a target all the way at 380. Now, there's also a gap up here, and that gap closes at 400 to the downside, right? And this has to be evaluated because there are two areas of vulnerability underneath us. And that is the floor that you're holding, or the empty space underneath you. If you lose your 327.50 wick, you would have a 322.30. If you were to punch down through that, you would have the empty space under there, and you'd have a box here, right, with a 312 top. So, and obviously that could lead to a much stronger downside move. You can actually get rid of all of this and see that. Oh, come here, and see that channel that we're kind of traveling in as well. So, is Tesla on the watch list this week? You betcha. Obviously TSLL if you can't afford those contracts. All right, so the next one was Meta, and let's see. Oh, I'm having to scroll through this, so just patient here. All right, so I did talk about Meta. Lower time frame gets very confusing because there's a lot of whiplash going on here. The 24-hour kind of gives you a little bit more resolve where you can at least spot the overhead. Oops, the overhead box right here. It's been a long time since I've used one of those. But you can see this is currently your area of consolidation. And so below 750, that's where we could see some downside. We've already done that and then bounce back up. So this is a gap. So you do have a large gap, and you can see that on the 4-hour. You can see that 357.50 lost would be that impact driver. Now above you, again, the overhead resistance is 780. So this is, again, a read and react scenario. Now you can go to the hourly as well, and there is a box supporting you. This is in greater detail describing that if 762.25 is lost, you'd go for that gap fill. And that's, again, right where you would probably want to set some alerts. Like that. Alrighty. The next one that we had was loading. Any minute now. Neo. So this one, they were asking, for this one, whether it was going to go higher. And as of right now, we're in a nice area of consolidation. This is where we set alerts on both sides of the trail and let it do its work, right? So outside of $5, yes, we are looking for a potential new high. And then inside of this box, you'll notice that there's a pretty sizable downtrend. And so the hope here is that we just get outside of that mark, where we'll be faced with our first overhead resistance, which should be right around 530. All right. So Java, and that one actually made the watch list. It does have earnings, it does have empty space, it does have nice consolidation, does have a target of 110 above, does have a target of 71.50 below, and it's just really that simple. So we're going to look and see how earnings performs on Monday because it is a pretty good setup. I like this one a lot. And I'm not overcomplicating it because it doesn't need to be overcomplicated because earnings is about to happen. There is the only thing that I can add here is there's a channel. So your targets are, 105.75, pretty easy. And then down here at 72, 78. And if that fell fast, oh my God, I would play that back up. That would be phenomenal. All right. So that's Kava. Let's see what we had next. All right, so we had NU, and this one I did look at this one for a potential short, and this one has earnings as well, right? So there is a Weekly, and then this is where I was really focused on it. The weekly has a huge overhead of 1381. You could see a pop up to 17. At the same time, on the 24-hour, you have a flat floor right here at $9, and with all that overhead resistance, I might take some $9 puts on that one. Nike was also another one. This person wanted to take it down. Don't know what that is. Weird drawing. Somebody get hacked. I got hacked. This is a range, not a box. You are currently held underneath the top of it. So that means sellers are winning at least for now, but they're not able to get it through the 50% mark. So they're losing in that way. So over this long and under this short, down to the floor, considering this is, less of a box, more of a range. But with that being said, it would be 71 right now. If you're looking to take this one much shorter, that would be below 71 to 68.35. And of course, there's more empty space, but you got to take that step by step. It's a lot. All right. AAON, this one also, I think, yeah, this one made the earnings watch list. Consolidation to the max. It definitely does move pretty well on earnings. The contracts, again, we haven't looked at these, but it is over the 84.60. First target would be 89.50 and potentially 94.16. To the downside, just the floor, right? Just right around 69.20. So, all right. What is that one? Starbucks. Yeah. So this one also one that could be watched, and I showed you guys why this old box was punched through. So now we're focused on the new area consolidation. 93.65 is your floor. This is your break point, which is 95.50, and the overhead here, which is a bigger box. I don't know why that's so messed up. But that is your cost basis, and so basically a candle close outside of 97.26 would likely give us a move up to 104. If it doesn't and you lose 90.50, that's not going to be fun. All right, so Starbucks, TTD. Now I like this one for the potential reversal on it. Now it does have a habit of continuing to dump. I've noticed that looking back on the chart, at least in this last go around, you had a pretty nasty dump. So with that being said, the chart is going to rely on this box here. Now, depending on where we open up on Monday, right? And this is where we go to the 4-hour. You already notice there's some structure there. You already notice that this is that previous overhead. So I'll rise that up a little bit. So that's going to be step 1, 55.25. Now I'm going to go to the hourly, and that's where the box gives you a better or greater detail as to where this could potentially go, or where it could potentially bounce. So on the 30-minute, you're looking for a bounce of 53.50. And then above you, right, you're looking for a retest of 55.35 and a breakout side of 55.75 to get to that upside. This is where you set lots of alerts on the floor and on the ceiling. Really simple. All right. What else do we have? So it was only an 18-minute clip, so there's not a ton. APLD, so I think this is one of those charts it wasn't super duper fond of. It does have lower time frame. Let me see, 24-hour time frame. Yeah, so if you could tell by my drawing here, you either A are going to get outside of this break. Your first target would be 1650 or the floor over to your left. And then from what I can tell, if this is the second rejection, then you could also be looking at a retest down at 1070 and all the way at 950. So this one, it's not my favorite stock at all. Price action's a little wonky. But, if you are looking at the upside, it would be 2166. That would be a trigger to potentially get up to 4180. So, I don't want to shut it down completely. Right. Disney was another one. I think this individual wanted to take it down, and understandably so, right? It's dropped down underneath a weekly level that's really strong at 113. On the 24-hour, you can see 3 candles shoving it down, trying to get it through this box, which that box is all messed up. So here's the deal. Keep moving down, right? 4-hour time frame, we're starting to see that 1, 2, 3 at 112. That's the top structure over there. And then you're going to go down again, right? The 1 hour. So now we can tell that it's basically above 113.62 to get us up. And this is the issue, right? Is you have something like this and you need to simplify it. The simple answer is below 112.65. You have those levels that I gave you, like 110.90 or 111 and 109.65. But above you, you're really focused on the previous floors, which you fought to reclaim once but couldn't do it. So it is above 115 that you could start to move back up. Now, to the downside, you're going to need to see a punch through 110.35. And again, that back down to the 4 hour, you've got a gap right here. So if you can hold, I would say beneath 114 and see cost bases at 111.22 broken, then that is a potential. But be patient with that one and select your entry based off of where the best stop loss is. So uh EXEL. So I said some decent. You got a nice little bucket here. This could end up being if you don't have enough to get over that 38, then chances are you'll come right back down, and continue to be a box, right? Now, that being said, outside of 38, you have a first target of 38.72, a median of 39.32, and then a break up and over 40 that would get you into that empty space. So I see what you're looking for. It is bouncing, but not my not for me, but I hope that works out for you pretty well. All right. Just waiting for this load here. Let's see. Somebody asked me if I liked Nokia. The answer is no, I don't. I do see empty space on it, so maybe that's something that you can squeeze up and get later on. That's 470, but no, I'm not a big fan of this setup, and it doesn't really adhere to anything that I'm doing. So, let's see. Why did I go back to that? All right. This was Mara, and I did say that there was a lower time frame trade, and that's all available to you. You can see it on the 24-hour. You've got a box right here. You need to break back over 1660, punch through this box, and get to that empty space at 1887. So I would recommend go to the hourly or to the 2 hour. And yeah, outside of 1631 through 1721, there's a decent play to the upside there. Uh, Again, this one's going to take patience because there's volume all around. Um, Disney, yeah, I did that one. Disney. Let's see here. Damn, I talked about Mara way too long. Talk about that shit forever. TXN. Yeah, that was another one. So this one has, honestly, it has the potential for like the quintessential inverse head and shoulders, right? But again, I don't really pay too much attention to that. I do like those setups. Out of all of the patterns. But here's the deal, right? On the 24-hour candle, it's 190.50. You need a candle close outside of it to start making your way back up. Now, I noticed that there's a wick off of this floor, and so I'm going to consider that to be the first target of 193.80, and then I'm going to split. And I'm not sure if I want to. I'm going to split that empty space in half, and you'll have another target of 201 or 200 directly above you. And I think that's a pretty sizable or pretty decent target. All right. What else do we have? Yeah, I'm still doing that one. Yeah, we did that one already. I already did AON. All right, let's see. I forgot yours. A clip just didn't show me. Yeah, CoreWeave has earnings. This one, it's really hard to give you, a super accurate analysis. I thrive off of structure. I see maybe the potential for a channel here. So target of 72.82, and then 250s up there. So I don't know how much that's like a reality there, but yeah, I mean it's 141 is the floor, maybe 150 for a decent earnings target. So all right. So from what I can tell, that's the majority of them. It probably felt longer because we were all talking and commentary was being made. But anyway, the Discord is open. If I am banned tomorrow, it's 35% off yearly and lifetime. But other than that, guys, let's try to have a good week. Play 24-hour setups that make sense. Stick to our damn rules. And let's see if we can't have another good week. But otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Y'all have a great night. Peace.